Hey guys, this video is to show you how to paint your fabric silicone mermaid tail. In terms of paint, you can either go the same route as Mermaid Geek and just paint on your Pearly X pigments and then seal it with a silicone sealant. I'm going to do something a little bit different by mixing the pigment right into the silicone, and I'll explain some pros and cons of both methods later because I've used both. Okay, in terms of supplies, you will need a bunch of this clear silicone caulk, the exact same stuff you use to make your scales. Just go ahead and buy a bunch. I think it'll probably take at least 5 tubes for my tail, and I'm just doing a repaint. It's already been painted, but the job was a little sloppier than I intended, so I'm doing some touch-ups. You will also need some paintbrushes. You can probably make do with maybe one of these if you're going to paint all at the same time. I just got some cheapo ones from Dollar Tree. You will need whatever pigments you're going to use. That is my entire collection. You do not need all of these. You will need your caulk gun, gloves, and this is important, mineral spirits, because you have to be able to thin down the silicone somehow because it's very, very thick and you won't be able to paint that on. You also need some sort of container. If you're doing small batches of color, you can just use a foam cup like this. I'm trying to make sure my tail is pretty consistent in color, so I'm going to use a container. You don't want to put food back in this. This is my go-to silicone container. And then last, you're going to want some sort of scale sample because you're going to want to test your paint before you start slapping it on your tail. Okay, let's get started. So once you've got your silicone all prepped, go ahead and grab some and put it in, sorry this is so shaky, go ahead and put it in the container. You need a lot. Don't fill the container because you're going to have to mix in probably at least 1/3 mineral spirits, but you want to get a lot so you can have a pretty consistent color. Once you've got a whole lot of silicone in there, you can go ahead and start mixing in mineral spirits. I'd add them bit by bit and grab a plastic knife, sorry I forgot to list that on the materials list, and just start mixing it in. Okay, I lied, you definitely need more than 1/3 of the mineral spirits, probably closer to 1/2 or 2/3. So you want to get it so it's relatively runny. I could probably even benefit from making this a little bit thinner. And then from there you can go ahead and start adding your pigments. I'd add them bit by bit and kind of mix it in as you go. You can also, the cool thing about Pearly X pigments as well as using silicone, you can totally mix the colors, especially if you're doing it in the silicone, which is really nice. So I'm actually going to add a little bit of my gold just to kind of make this a little bit of a, and you don't need that much of the Pearly X because it's super concentrated. The other stuff I'm using is glow pigment from Technoglow, and that will make it glow in the dark. The Technoglow is not nearly as concentrated as the other stuff, the Pearly X, so I'm mixing some Pearly X in with it to kind of make it a little, give it a bit more better coverage. Sorry, the neighbor's dogs are very chatty this morning. So go ahead and mix that all up, and then we will start painting it on. If this is your first time doing painting like this, then go ahead and make sure to test it. I've already obviously done a lot of painting this style, so I'm just going to go ahead and go for it. As you can see, it's very patchy, what I did. You can see a lot of the red fabric through. So I'm going to kind of just go over this and try to get rid of some of this red showing through. So that amount of silicone that I showed you was enough to do the entire back of my tail. And now I'm going to go ahead and do the front that I haven't, this part I've touched up previously, but I'm just doing the kind of the orange glow around the front, the glow paint. So a couple tips and tricks. You can paint like this, but I would advise against it. I think it's better to paint like a circular motion like this because it prevents you from losing some of the texture of your scales. It will ruin your brush, but your brush is going to be ruined anyway because of the silicone. Guys, next we're going to go ahead and move on to the fluke. I'm going to go ahead and give my silicone a little bit of a stir because the color is subtle and it will start to cure. I'm going to go ahead and do straight lines on this part rather than the circular motion because it'll just be a little more even, and you will actually be able to tell if it's lumpy because there aren't going to be scales to kind of hide that fact. One of the best things about silicone caulk is that it cures very quickly. One of the worst things about silicone caulk is that it cures very quickly. So you're going to need to work pretty quickly before it starts hardening up on you. I am also in Florida in August outside, so that also speeds up the curing process. But because I am doing this all in one go, with the silicone being in the pigment being inside the silicone, I will be able to wear this tail within 24 hours of me finishing it. Probably less, honestly, but 24 hours to be safe. After painting the entire thing, you are good to go. Just let it cure for 24 hours before taking it in the water. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and talk briefly about pros and cons between painting these two tails different ways. So in terms of this blue tail, I painted it just with the Pearly X and then put on the silicone sealant. As you can see, the scales are much more defined in this blue tail than in my other orange tail. A benefit to doing it this way is obviously the scales being defined and the fact that the tail will be lighter because there will be significantly less silicone on it. This tail will tend to be heavier. I have also found that, however, it is because it has so much more silicone on it, it's much stronger. And I've not had any tears in this tail, while I've had a slew of problems with this tail. Then also, it will be heavier and obviously more expensive because you're going to need to buy more silicone. Thank you all so much for working on this project with me. I hope you guys have a great day, and good luck on making your own tails.